More protection orders than the rest of the state's counties combined. To help protect victims of domestic violence, multiple agencies in Douglas County are set to receive nearly $600,000 from the Department of Justice. Our Bella Caracta spoke to the head of some of those agencies about how important this money is to keep people safe.
The number of distress calls to 911 related to domestic violence in Douglas County is growing. And now money from the U.S. government hopes to help metro agencies serve people in need. According to data compiled by the city of Omaha, in 2021, the county received nearly 19,000 calls for help related to domestic violence.
The Sheriff's Office has recognized this need over time and has bolstered our workforce.
Domestic violence cases that do lead to a judge granting a protective order go to the Sheriff's Office. In the office behind me, a team of 12 processes more than 300 protection orders a month here in Douglas County. This federal grant bolsters that team and helps pay for their work, overtime, and equipment so officers and deputies can enforce protection orders.
It gives the law enforcement officer the ability to act immediately if the conditions of the protection order are violated.
If a domestic violence incident escalates, it can go to the Douglas County Attorney's Office for prosecution. Last year, Don Klein's office had around 2,000 domestic violence cases. He tells 6 News his office relies on grants like this to help train attorneys.
So all this money, this grant money, goes to making sure that we have people who understand the domestic violence dynamics and are prepared for those kinds of cases, know where to look for evidence in those kinds of cases, whether it's from a forensic standpoint or otherwise, knows who might be an expert to go to.
When asked why it's important to invest in domestic violence work,
make sure we do everything we can to protect the victims of domestic violence.
On your side in Omaha, Bella Caracta,